Hello everybody, it's Randy here, back for week number 8 of the Pokemon Global Battle League. Of course, I am the coach of Texas Pokemon Rangers, taking on the New York Charmanders, coached by Hannonz. Pretty cool dude. Make sure you guys check out his channel. Of course, he's in a bunch of other leagues as well, such as the UBL, and I believe the PGL as well, so that's pretty, got a lot of league content for you guys, and he's definitely probably, unknown as well in terms of people in people's circles for sure. I've known him because of the PGBL. He's a cool dude. We've talked and stuff like that. So make sure you check him out. I pretty much, I could definitely relate to how he battles. I feel like, in my younger, I don't want to say younger, he's older than me, but like when I first started doing like my first league on YouTube, I feel like I played just like him. So, he's definitely someone similar in which we use stuff that's usually outside the box, and it doesn't always work out, but it's definitely fun to see. So, definitely like the stuff that he does there. Anyway, so battle is up a week late. That's my fault because I was sick pretty much the entire week, starting last Tuesday, and I wasn't pretty much able to talk consistently in a long, period of time until the following week on the Tuesday, or I guess Monday, earlier in that week. So like the 12th, I was fine, but I didn't get around to recording this until the 15th, so it's Thursday right now, and that's just on me. School kicked my butt, and I'm just like kind of falling behind, but I'll have a double header for PGBL this weekend. I'll have like my battle against Leo on Sunday, and then this battle will go up Saturday. XBL is to be determined because we've kind of had some conflicts, so I'll make sure to get that season finale up as soon as I can, but we have to battle first, and I'm not sure what's going to happen there. It's some stuff going on. Hopefully we figure it out, Kind of important because it is determining the number 1 seed for the playoffs, so we got to make sure we figure that out. So, yeah. Anyway, let's go ahead and jump into my team because it's got a lot of fun stuff in it. And by that, we had the debut of Lupe, the Drampa, running a choice spec set. Oh, let's go over Hannon's team, my bad. I'll actually make sure to put up a graphic that you guys can actually see his team, but his team consists of the man, I can't find it. Where the hell is it at? Oh yeah, here it is. Mega Venusaur, Excadrill, Volcanion, which is a Zemon user. Hippowdon, Noivern, which is another Zemon user. Espeon, Electros, Poipole, Zimmerl, and Licky. So, it's got a pretty decent all-around team. For the most part, every single Pokemon does actually provide like a legitimate threat to my team. At least I think so. Offensively, they have a chance to be very threatening. Like they could force switches for sure. Kind of hard to switch into, with the exception of maybe Hippowdon and the Licky. But even then, Hippowdon's got a pretty good attack stat, and Licky does have good coverage and a good attack stat nonetheless, but regardless of investment. So definitely some difficult mons to switch into. But I definitely have the Pokemon to break those. So the number one thing I noticed about his team before going in is that he actually doesn't carry a dark type on his team, meaning that I can run a mono psychic attacking Mew in this game, and that could pretty much just win the game. So that was pretty much what I built the team around. I could pretty much run like a Calm Mind Mew with like Recover, or like with Roost Psychic, and then the last move is probably going to be something like Substitute or maybe even Barrier to get some defense boost to be able to take on Excadrill and the Zumarill a little bit better, assuming the Azure isn't, of course, Belly Drum. But that was the main thing I noticed about his team. It's also kind of, it's actually very slow with the exception of his Sand Mini Core, but it's actually extremely slow. Noivern is his fastest Pokemon on his team, and it's pretty fast, but, I mean, having that gap between Noivern and the Excadrill is kind of odd, or I guess Espeon, I should say. It's a little bit weird, so, I can't really take advantage of it because my team's Trick Room, but, if he doesn't bring Noivern, then my Thundurus pretty much will be having fun, Espeon once it's out of the way, so. With that being said, let's go ahead and jump into my team. Like I said, we have Drampa making his debut on the Rangers. And, his team is very, very weak to normal spam. Specs Hyper Voice. He doesn't even have a switch into Specs Hyper Voice. His best switch in is a Spadef Venusaur. Or I guess an AV Licky. Even a special Licky, I guess, could be the case. But, I wanted to bring it. I finally wanted to bring it. I've been wanting to use this mon all season. Pretty much my entire draft career as well. So, finally glad to use it. And of course, the coverage is pretty self-explanatory. Flamethrower allows me to hit the Excadrill. Hyper Voice hits pretty much everything else. Energy Ball hits the Hippowdon. But besides that, excuse me. But besides that, I'm probably going to be clicking Hyper Voice like 100% of the time, and maybe Dragon Pulse against his Venusaur or something like that, or whatever. But Hyper Voice is probably going to be the only move I click. I probably could have slapped on Sleep Powder on here to ensure I have a switch into his Venusaur Sleep Powder, but I didn't think about that going into the game, so hopefully it doesn't bite us in the butt too hard. But nonetheless, next Pokemon we have Thundurus, running pretty much the same set as he did last week, or against Josh. Nasty Plot, 3 attacks, Hidden Power Flying, to be able to hit the Venusaur harder than HP Ice, obviously, because Hidden Power Flying is stab, and super effective. Running a Modest Nature because we don't need to outspeed his Noivern. We don't really need to. Same thing with Espeon. We don't really care. Espeon already outspeed this anyway, so you know, Modest was just the right idea. Probably could have afforded to run Agility on here, but I mean, Modest was cool to be able to hit that Venusaur for good damage. That Thunderbolt and Focus Blast hits the rest of his team. So Thundurus, once again, proving to be a legitimate win con in this game once we wear down that Hippo, wear down that Eelektross, potentially wear down that Licky. But I do have the Z Focus Blast, which could hit that Licky 100% of the time. So gotta make sure I preserve that and use it for the right moment. But besides that, Thundurus is again a legitimate win con that I had to play smart around. So hopefully we can do that. Next up, we have the Barclays, Mew running Calm Mind, of course, the set I was talking about. And I did Obstacle for sub to be able to prevent myself from getting hit with Sleep Powders from a Venusaur or any other kind of status move. Barrier probably could work just as well, but I just didn't want to risk any sort of status, so I opted to run that. Of course, I have Timid Nature. I believe I have enough speed to outrun a Jolly Max Speed Excadrill, although I'm pretty sure I made it to outrun Adamant Max Excadrill because I figured he probably wasn't going to run Jolly Excadrill. I figured he'd probably run Adamant, but I can't remember if I did. But again, same idea. Mono Psychic hits his entire squad. The only thing that could be a problem is a Calm Minding Espeon because that can actually beat me 1v1 if it were to have Psyshock. So I kind of risked the Biscuit and ran Psychic, but I wanted Psychic to be able to hit that Hippowdon harder, to hit the Volcanion harder, hit the I think the Venusaur harder, but I'm not sure. But yeah, I mean, Psyshock probably made more sense in hindsight because of all of this potential Assault Vest users. But I figured, Mono Psychic either way, if I get up like 3 or 4 Calm Mind, the game's already going to be over. So just got to make sure I play that smart. Next up, we have the Kurama, the Ninetales, which I did not nickname for some reason. I'm not sure why. But we're running the Aura Veil, Freeze Dry, Toxic, and the Ice Beam. Ice Beam is only because he does have a Hippowdon, and I don't want to risk me missing Blizzards, and of course it hits harder than Freeze Dry, so that's my reasoning behind that. Toxic is to be able to Toxic that Volcanion, the Hippo if I have to, even though I'll probably hit it with Ice Beam anyway. Toxic the Eelektross, and of course the Licky. So Toxic I felt like made the most sense because his number one switch into this is probably either going to be his Volcanion or his Licky, or even an Assault Vest Eelektross. So I felt like Toxic made the most sense in that slot, and Aura Veil of course is always useful. Although I haven't clicked it every time, it's still nice to be able to help set up Mew, help set up Thundurus, so definitely will be useful in this game, I'm sure. Next up, we have Cofagrigus, Trick Room, Nasty Plot, Shadow Ball, and Hidden Power Fighting. Of course, relatively self-explanatory set. Shadow Ball and Hidden Power Fighting hits his entire squad. If I'm able to get up some Nasty Plots, of course, I will win the game. Although, Cofagrigus has had potential to sweep in a lot of games I've brought it to, I just haven't played it as my win con, so, it definitely can be useful in this game, but I don't feel like it's going to sweep mainly because he has a lot of damage output, and I probably won't be able to get up my Nasty Plots and Trick Room. But, nonetheless, it's useful to get up Trick Room and, of course, do some damage with that Shadow Ball and Hidden Power Fighting combination. And finally, we have Sheila, the Araquanid, running Soak, Toxic once again, Liquidation, and the Poison Jab. Now, of course, this set, Soak, Toxic, it does allow me to Toxic that Mega Venusaur, which would be very cool if I'm able to pull that off. Venusaur, it's kind of annoying if it sits on the field too long and gets a Bleach Sheets, but I do have a lot of coverage for it. But Soak Toxic, it does allow me to Toxic the Venusaur and actually not beat it 1v1, but I'm able to deal some damage to it 1v1, so I probably can beat it 1v1 though for sure because I do have leftovers, so I think we do beat it 1v1 as long as it doesn't have knockoff or Toxic of its own. But besides that, Liquidation and Poison Jab are very nice to have in this matchup. Obviously, Volcanion walls me, but I wall Volcanion as well, so hopefully that works out. And I do have the poison jab. That way Azumarill doesn't get a free setup on me. So that's the reasoning behind that. So that's my team for this week. Pretty fun team. Obviously, the win cons this week are Thundurus and Mew. And of course, the Wall Breaker Lupe will just be fun to spam Hyper Voice. So hopefully it does grab some kills. And yeah, so. And then, of course, it'd be very nice to be able to Toxic that Venusaur. Although it is important to note that we saw last time when we use Soak that once Venusaur Mega evolves, it will go back to its normal typing. So if I Soak the regular Venusaur on a switch, then I have to remember that I have to Soak again because he'll change back to his typing. So something kind of annoying, but we'll have to play around it. So yeah, let's go ahead and jump into the actual battle, which turned out to be a really good one, by the way. So hopefully it does spark some interest for sure. And I'll probably be muting the mic every now and then because of my my speech. So anyways, we see at preview he does bring the Azumarill, the Electros, Excadrill, Volcanion, Espeon, and the Mega Venusaur. I don't know what's up with these mythicals or these legends that always show them angled. Whenever I put them in the layout, like whenever I have to take pictures of them, they're always at an angle or some weird face. I don't know what's up with that. That's kind of jacked up. But anyways, yeah, of course, no dark type. You know, that was never gonna be the case because he doesn't have a dark type on his roster. So you know, the only real threats to Mew that stopped me from getting up Calm Minds are, of course, the Excadrill, the Azumarill, and I suppose the Espeon, because he could probably get off a nice strong Shadow Ball before I get up my Calm Mind. So I figured if he was Scarf Excadrill, which I figured at Team Preview, I could probably set it up on maybe it's Rapid Spin or maybe it's well, I mean, I don't have hazards, but I guess set it up maybe on Iron Head. But you know, flinching is always a thing. So realistically, the only things I can set up on is maybe a non-Specs Volcanion, the Venusaur, or the Electros. So I do have to be careful about letting Mew take too much damage. But besides that, Thundurus actually is a legitimate win con as well because he doesn't have a ground type. I mean, he has a ground type, but I have Z-Focus Blast, so that's like the only Pokemon I actually need Z-Focus Blast for. Other than that, Nasty Plot pretty much does Breakfast's team once I get rid of that Electros, which I assume is going to be Assault Vest or some bulky variant. So right at Team Preview, you can already tell that Mew and Thundurus will be the win cons. And then, of course, Drampa has fun, too, because he doesn't have a switch into Spec Hyper Voice. So, of course, with that in my mindset, I figured the best possible lead was Lupe, the Drampa, because he has no switching. If he leads with his Excadrill, I would think he's going to switch out. If he leads Venusaur, I would think he's going to switch out. If he leads Espeon, he probably goes for, like, Dazzling Gleam. But besides that, I get on my Hyper Voice. So, yeah, I mean, I figured the best lead was Drampa. So, let's go ahead and jump into this game. Yeah, I think my camera's lagging, which is kind of annoying. But anyways, I think we're lagging a little bit. I'll have to look at that in the recording. Alright, so we see he leads off with the Electros, and that's kind of interesting to me because I figured Hyper Voice was the best plan. And of course, on this Drampa, I'm actually running a lot of speed because I want to be able to potentially outrun his Azumarill, which was the reasoning behind that. So we do see it went first. So he goes for knockoff. Hyper Voice did around close to like 60%. So I figured, why not go for another one? And he actually does die to the next hit, which really caught me off guard because that would have meant I probably got a really low roll on the first Hyper Voice and then got a really high roll on the next one because without the specs, it was still able to kill. So that was kind of interesting to start off the game for sure. So he brings in Volcanion. I figured the only way he can kill me was with a fighting move, and I'm not sure why I didn't make the switch into my Cofagrigus because, like I said, the only way Volcanion kills Drampa is if it has a fighting move. So I kind of just made a huge error here and let my Drampa go down on turn 2. Which really sucked because it probably could have done some more work later in the game despite not having specs. So, a bit of a misplay on my part, but you know, at least we know it's item immediately, and we figure out the error. So, going to Thundurus here, he doesn't have a switch in. I really wanted to click my Nasty Plot here on this turn because I just wanted to get Nasty Plot off, but I figured Thunderbolt was the best play for me, as he does go into his Espeon. So here, I make my first misplay of the game. I did opt to go for Nasty Plot, assuming he'd probably go for something like Calm Mind, or maybe just go for like a straight up Psychic, which he actually does end up doing Psy Shock, I should say, and Psy Shock ends up almost knocking me out, which was a huge misplay. We know Espeon's faster. Of course, I have Prankster. That's why Nasty Plot went first. So instead of knocking him out, that ended up happening. So that was kind of a huge error on my end there. And he made a good play just by straight up attacking. So I probably could have knocked him out right there. But instead, I'm forced to sack off my Ninetales. And as you can see here, I actually just got a critical hit, knocks me out, which is a little bit helpful for me because this allows me to get switch initiative. But it does suck because if he had to attack me one more time, he would have died to a combination of Life Orb and Hail. So that does kind of suck in that sense because I had to lose another Mon. But, you know, it is what it is, so, yeah. So, bring in my Shelob because Shelob is the only Mon I want to take a hit from this thing. I don't want to go into Mew because I don't want to risk him having Shadow Ball, which I'm sure he does. So I bring in my Spider, quickly knock out his Espeon. So we're pretty much trading blows here. As I imagine that the Volcanion will be coming in here right now, or maybe even the Mega Venusaur. So he does actually decide to bring in his Excadrill, which I assume is going to go for the Scarf Rock Slide, because I do imagine it is Scarf. So go ahead and stay in here and sack off my Spider, knowing it probably can't do much later in this game. It's already too low to check Venusaur, or even the Volcanion. So do end up sacking my Shelob there. As we see, his Excadrill takes some Hail. So assuming he's Choice Scarf, I do opt to go into my Cofagrigus just to get up a clean Shadow Ball. I figured Shadow Ball was the best play because if I'm able to get up Trick Room is not a good thing for me because my other two mods in the back are actually faster than his squad. So Trick Room is not going to be an option here. I do just go straight for the Shadow Ball. It does close to around maybe 45%, 40% to that Volcanion. So pretty good chip damage because at this point I know I need to wear down his Volcanion to help Mew set up, as well as maybe even, I mean, it's mainly to help Mew set up because Volcanion, I mean, Thundurus can one-shot it anyway. So I figured Shadow Ball was the best play here to make sure my Mew could set up on this pretty easily. So I do go for the next Shadow Ball, and it puts it close to the range of Hail, but of course Hail will end on this turn. And my Cofagrigus is about to go down. So in here, this game will go by really quick, but I know that my win cons are still alive, so I do have a good chance at winning this game already. Doesn't need to go for the Flamethrower and knocks out my Cofagrigus. So now it's down to 2v4, but it's good for me because I do decide to go into my Mew, the Barclays. And here at this point, I just have to hope he doesn't burn me. So I do go for the Calm Mind here. That way I can take a Steam Eruption a bit better. So I do go for the Calm Mind. I don't have the most HP investment, but I do have quite a bit. So with this Calm Mind, I am going to be able to take a Steam Eruption quite nicely. So as we see here on this turn, Steam Eruption does, you know, a little bit too much for it to, be a little bit too much, you know, to break this up. So it does break this up for sure. So here, I'll make a misplay. I was playing off camera. I just clicked Substitute for some reason. Not sure why I did that. I figured he might switch out maybe, but Calm Mind was most definitely the play there. So now I just took damage for no reason. I mean, roughly it would have been around the same damage. I think I may have actually taken less damage if I go for sub. But if I had Calm Minded, I would have taken significantly less damage. So instead, I had to force the Roost here, as he's just going to continue to spam the Steam Eruption, which is kind of questionable. But then again, I mean, his only Mon that he can switch into is Azumarill, and he's probably saving Azumarill because Azumarill is the only Pokemon that can actually deal damage to my Mew. Like, for sure. I mean, Excadrill can too if it's Scarf, but I mean, I'm sure you wouldn't risk it. So here, finally get on my second Calm Mind here. As he continues to spam Steam Eruption. And now Burn isn't the biggest deal in the world because Burn in this generation, of course, is pretty much the same as Leftover Recovery. So I was kind of hoping he would burn me. That way I could just, you know, get the status out of the way, but hasn't quite happened here. So now on a turn that I'm forced to Roost, he does make a good play and opts to, actually he doesn't switch out here on this turn. He switches out the next turn, I think. So I kind of figured he would switch out on that turn because he probably would expect me to Roost. So that's why I ended up going for the sub. But the sub indeed does go away from that Steam Eruption. So once again, a bit of a misplay on my part. Definitely should be prioritizing Roosting and Calm Minding. So here on this turn, I believe he does switch out. Yes, because he knows how to Roost there. And goes into Monty, his Excadrill. So I do Roost up here. And I was kind of afraid of him to have Toxic. So on this turn, I believe I do go for the Substitute. Although I don't remember for sure because this whole part of the game was kind of like just me trying to play smart, not choke it. Because if I mess up this one turn with Mew, I do lose a game. So I have to play smart and make sure I'm at the highest HP possible. So here, I actually do end up going for the Psychic just to see what he was going to do. As I end up being faster than he is. So I guess he ended up just being like a jolly, like maybe 4 attacks or something like that. Not too sure. But the Earthquake does relatively nothing. And I know that Excadrill is one of the few Pokemon that can deal damage to me because it's a physical attacker. So I figured the best thing for me was to just kill it right away, go for another Psychic, and knock out his Extra Drill. And now I figured here he'd probably just go into his Azumarill and go straight for the knockoff, because, you know, he's got a free switch in now. His other two mons really can't do much to me, as he actually decides to go into his Venusaur, which was really interesting to me, because this tells me he probably has some sort of way to hit me, like knockoff, or maybe he just wanted to maybe catch me with Toxic or something like that. So here, I am not playing around with status. I go straight for the substitute, as he does actually reveal the knockoff. Now, this is good for me because I know that knockoff probably won't break my sub once my item goes away. So here I do opt to go for the Roost on this turn, because I'll take the max damage, and then the following turn I should be able to live, or I should be able to get up my sub, and the knockoff won't break my sub because knockoff will be really weak, and he's probably a bulky Venusaur. So as you can see here with my item, knockoff doesn't even do that much damage at all. So for sure, behind a sub, knockoff will not break the sub. So I do prioritize the sub first, because again, I don't want to risk him having Toxic or something like that. So he does go for knockoff here, and knockoff does not break the sub. So I am able to spam Roost here and click Calm Mind, and as long as I don't choke and mess up one turn, Mew will indeed win the game. So just continuing to click Roost here. All I have to do is keep clicking Calm Minds, and I'm good to go, because I mean, he can't win the game at this point unless he gets like a Mega Crit or something like that. So yeah, it's a little bit boring here, a little bit repetitive. I was playing it safe though, because of the way the season's been going for me, choking the games away. I wanted to make sure I made the right plays at all the right times. So playing it extremely safe here. Going for more subs as he switches into a Azumarill, and I do start going for attacks here, Psychic, to see what he opts to do. Of course, Psychic is a clean 2-shot on my end with Citrus Berry, so he did opt to bring his Belly Drum variant in this game. So here he goes for his Play Rough. Does break my sub, and I assume here on this turn he's probably going to go for the crit Aqua Jet, as I figured he probably would try to do. So he just goes for the Aqua Jet here, but you know, the thing is about that turn is if I went for Substitute, it would have been kind of interesting, because I would have gotten my sub after the Jet, but it wouldn't have made the biggest difference in the world. So he does get low, and he does go for the Jet, as I figured going for the Psychic was the best play, because his last two mons cannot outrun me, and we do knock out his Azumarill, and then his final two mons, of course, are the Volcanion and the Venusaur. So he brings in his Venusaur. I believe I'm at +3, but I did not want to risk him living. I think I may have been at +2 only, though. I think I was only at +2, so I probably could have just went for Psychic there, and because you know, Thundurus wins the game anyway. Thundurus wins the game, so I probably could have just went for Calm Mind there or whatever. So I guess Psychic, but go for Psychic here, and we do knock out the Venusaur one shot. So wasted a little bit of time there, but like I said, I was playing it safe. I didn't want to choke the game, even though Thundurus won the game at that point anyway. I mean, Venusaur, if he wasn't at full. If he was at full, I would have lost. So, I mean, getting damage off was important. So, I probably should have just went for that Psychic anyway. So, Mew does indeed pick up the victory. Racking up a big, I believe, 4 kills at the end there. Killing Extra Drill, Azumarill, Venusaur, and the Volcanion. So, good game to Hannonz. Excuse me, my nose is getting a little congested. But this is, you know, a good game. Obviously, this is why people should definitely be drafting Dark types, or making sure you have a Dark type on your team. That way you're not prone to these kinds of things. And I probably shouldn't be talking because I don't have a Dark type of my own, I'm pretty sure. Unless I'm tripping. But yeah, I don't have a Dark type on my team, so I mean, I shouldn't be talking. But then again, I was drafting Trick Room, so I kind of just lost track of it. So, good game once again. The Rangers, I believe, now sit at a 5-2 record. Let me double check my record right here. 1, 2, 3... 3-2, 4-2, 5-2, and 6-2. So it moves us to 6-2 on the season. So after having a rough season, like 2-game loss, we've bounced back with 3 straight. But next week, and this is the rough part of the schedule, by the way. Starting like last week with Josh rematch, we had Hannonz. He's a really good battler, a really good season so far. He was 5-2 going to this game. Next week we have Leo, which we've never beaten him before. Last time we faced, it was in a GBAD League championship game, so it'll be fun to battle him again. And then we have MrChabry, which he was the defending Eastern Conference champion, so he's going to be hard to face in Week 10. And then we have Vizually, which is a new member in the East. He's took a win off Leo already, so he's definitely a good battler in himself. We have a pretty hard stretch here. We have to make sure we win all our games to make sure we have a chance at playoffs. So, yeah, I mean, it's a rough schedule, but I look forward to it. I apologize for the constant, like, nasally sounds, but like I said, been a little bit sick. But, yeah, hopefully I'm 100% for next game, and I will see you guys then. Go Rangers.